Kids are repelled by parents who are in victim mode, to me, are devastated, traumatized, extremely fearful and anxious. Like that is my typical voice of the child. You don't want to take the opportunity? It's up to you. I'm good either way. People say things and do things like intimidate and threaten when they are feeling insecure.
Dig, 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 and you'll find it. Welcome back to the Healing Train. What a journey it's been. Last season was full of truth, tears, breakthroughs, and deep connection. Thank you for showing up, for listening, and for being brave enough to heal with me. This season, we're going even deeper. Expect raw, honest conversations with guests from around the world. Survivors, experts, healers, each bringing powerful stories and wisdom to remind you you're not alone and your healing matters. If you're carrying pain, confusion, or questions that feel too heavy to hold on your own, this space is for you. Take a breath, come as you are, and know this: healing isn't always pretty, but it's always worth it. And together, we'll keep moving, one stop at a time. So hop back on and let's ride. Boy, do I have a surprise for you on the Healing Train today. My guest, Stacey Mendelson. She is a high conflict divorce coach. Now, there's a specialty you don't hear often. Stacey's mission is to help women battling a toxic ex and an unforgiving court system navigate this fight strategically and confidently. She helps women like you take back control, protect their children, and secure their financial future with a clear strategic plan. She has been in your shoes, and she knows what it takes to navigate this chaos. With the right strategy, guidance, and support, you can change the dynamic to start to win in family court. Stacey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you. And my audience and viewers are used to me reading a quotation at the beginning of every episode. And today I'm choosing something you said. Okay, so let me quote you. You say, "Going into a divorce battle with a high conflict ex requires skills you don't know about. It would be like stepping on an NFL field to play the Super Bowl without a helmet." What a quotation!
I agree. I still feel that way.
That gets us right into our topic, Stacey. And a question that I'm sure many are thinking about is, how does working with a divorce coach differ from working with a lawyer or therapist? And when should one consider hiring one?
Okay. Different people have different roles in any endeavor that they're going through. Sports coach is the person who teaches the skill. It teaches you how to do a good forehand, how to do a good backhand, so Serena Williams can win the US Open. But that's not the same person as her sports agent. Same thing in a divorce. A lawyer has a role. They are the legal engine of the battle. If you want to spend your money, why do you keep them in that role? A therapist is the person who helps you with your emotions, helps you process emotions, helps you maintain emotional regulation. A divorce coach is the person that will give you the skills needed to get to your win, to get to your finish line in the least amount of time and with the least amount of money spent. That's what a coach does, just like in sports.
Perfect answer. Perfect. Honestly, couldn't have said it better. What should someone look for in a divorce attorney or lawyer? Because I just want to break it down here. When you're dealing with a high conflict ex, let's start with that part first.
Okay. That question itself to me is worthy of its own podcast episode, because that is probably the one skill that almost every client I see is missing. I call it lawyer selection. And for sure, it's one of the biggest mistakes that people make who are in a high conflict divorce. So basically, the right lawyer is the person who's going to have the strategy that's going to get you from where you are now to your happily ever after, to where you want to be, which for everybody in all of my clients, they all have the same happily ever after. They all want unscathed kids. They all want a fair financial settlement, and they want safety. They want to be physically safe. Okay, so we're all going to the same place, really. And the right lawyer is the person who's going to get you there in the least amount of time, with the least amount of drama, for the least amount of money. The big question is, how do you know who that is, right? Like, how do you figure that out? Most people have no idea how to figure it out. I've created a process to actually discern who is the best individual to get you from there to here. And I have a process, and I'm just going to tell you like the scaffolding of my process just to make it kind of simple. But this is something I help clients do, which is selecting the right lawyer.
Okay.
The first thing I would recommend doing is preparing a document. It could be a computer document written of all the facts of your case: date of marriage, date of separation, where you live, names of the parties, date of birth, names of all the kids, dates of birth, any special needs that the kids have, when you bought a house, when you sold a house, when you had major property transfers, all of the facts. Leave the commentary out of it. So fact sheet, that's step one. Then outline, what are your must-haves? What are your goals here? What is it that you want to attain? 3 to 5 must-have goals. Next piece, what do you think are the obstructions your ex is going to put in your way that's going to prevent you from getting to those goals? 3 to 5 of those. Last piece, what are the pain points of your ex? Nobody knows your ex better than you do. What do you think are the pieces that really bother your ex? Does he have a previous criminal charges? Does he have an alcohol problem? Is he a licensed professional and his license may be at risk? Does he have a high standing in the mosque? Those are the basic facts. Then you take the document of facts and you give them to all of the potential lawyers that you're interested in consulting with. And I recommend you consult with at least 3, but many. The more, the better. This is not a time to penny pinch. Okay, you want to get it right from the get-go. And then you ask the lawyer 2 important questions. They now all have the same fact sheet. So you're able to compare apples to apples here. Question 1, are my goals attainable? Look, you've got all the facts here. Do you think I can get there? And question 2, how are you going to get me there? What's your strategy to get me there? From those 2 simple questions, you'll be able to compare all of these consults and choose who's the person with the strategy that makes the most sense, knowing my ex the way I do. Now, where people go off path here is they choose lawyers that are like them. So most women who are in a high conflict divorce are in doormat format. They're kind of in put up and shut up mode. They all come to me and say, I just want peace. I just want peace. They choose a peaceful lawyer.
That's not going to get them the result they need.
Not necessarily the most effective lawyer for their case. I'm not saying that they need a shark. What I'm saying is they need the effective person to get them to their finish line. Does that answer the question?
Oh my God, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And as you were speaking, a few things came to mind. You will get different answers from different lawyers, and I can tell you this from experience.
Right. Me
too. It's the same facts, same facts, but you'll have different perceptions, and it comes from their experience.
Right.
Their understanding of the toxic dynamic, like how well are they educated on, let's say, narcissistic personality disorder.
Right.
Right? Who are we dealing with here? Right? If they don't know who they are dealing with, they can be the best lawyer in town who has a rating of this and all of those tick, 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 tick. But if they don't know how to deal with someone who is like a snake, a snake needs to deal with a snake.
And that's who a narcissistic individual is. And if the woman is fed up to the point that she's got a divorce, it means he's put her through hell. And we're talking about women here. I'm sure there is men out there also who's dealing with women who aren't the greatest, but our topic for today is we're supporting women, okay? So if the husband has treated that woman terribly and she's been through hell and back, yeah, she needs someone to know how to deal with the snake. And how can a woman know that this, I mean, other than what you said some great, great tips here, but how can a woman know that this person, this lawyer that I'm hiring, understands the pain I've been through? Or does it even matter that the lawyer understands the pain that you've been through?
Um, a lawyer needs to know how to effectively change the power dynamic in the relationship. And for some people, there are different ways of doing it. It's not, it doesn't mean you have to necessarily beat them into submission, although it often does mean that you have to beat them into submission. You have to take very strong strategic legal positions that you will have win after win after win in court. So after someone gets kicked in the head a few times, that's when they're ready to come to the negotiating table. Now, it doesn't mean every case goes to court.
Right.
But another quote of mine that's maybe equally important to the NFL quote is, the more prepared and the more willing you are to go to court, the less chance you have of going to court, or the least length of time you'll spend in court.
Right. Right. It's a mindset.
Totally. That's right. And it comes off of you like a scent, like a stink. I tell my clients, it's like am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Sure, go for it.
Like a don't fuck with me scent that comes off of you. And it requires a transformation, because most people, when they come to me, are devastated, traumatized, extremely fearful and anxious. Like, that is my typical client. And there needs to be a transformation. And I have to show them how putting on a cape and being fearless is actually going to expedite their battle and get them to their finish line much better than fearing retaliation.
That's a great point you just made, because we have our avatar here. We have our person who is a woman who's been beaten down emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be. And she is at a point where she just wants the peace. She just wants out. It's the emotion. The emotion has taken over her, and she needs someone to be objective, not
Correct.
someone to be emotional with her.
Exactly.
For her to go through the healing, that's something she'll have to do with either a therapist, a coach, right?
Bingo. Yeah.
Right. But a divorce coach like yourself is here to be objective. Yes, sympathize and understand the pain, because also you've been through it too. You know what it's like. But it's not about sitting here crying together. It's about saying, okay, I get you. I understand what you've been through, but now it's time for you to be brave.
Yes.
Now it's time for you to dig deep for that courage to fight. Now is not the time to sit back and just say, oh, I just want this to be over. That's what you were doing in the marriage.
Yes.
That's the coping. You're no longer coping. You're now in a different energy. You're like, I'm taking the bull by its horn.
Yes, absolutely.
And you need someone else outside of the situation that can guide you through it. And a divorce coach is perfect for that. You can try and do it on your own. Of course, you can. And maybe you're able to. But a lot of people can't. And they need that little hand holding. And that's what you're there for.
Absolutely. And I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of landmines in family court and the whole high conflict divorce dynamic.
Yeah.
Even, going through a custody assessment. In fact, I just got a client 2 days ago, and I hear this all the time. I wish I had known. I wish I had known. Everybody thinks it'll be so obvious to a custody assessor, to a police officer, who the abuser is, who the problem is. And it's not. It's just this he said, she said battle. And you need coaching to acquire the skills to become calm, confident, and compelling to these people, to these third-party professionals, so that you don't come off as crazy. Because you feel crazy when you leave these relationships.
I love this. You have 3 C's
Yeah.
against 1 C. So you're being made out to be crazy, but you're going to be taught how to be calm, confident, and compelling. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Those are the skills that I teach my clients, and they all do great in their custody assessments. I sometimes get clients after a custody assessment that they've totally screwed up. And that is hard to turn around.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my preference is always to get people early. I tend to be, people find me either if they're super proactive and they kind of understand coaching is going to give you the skills you need to get to your finish line way faster. If you want to lose 10 pounds and you hire a weight loss coach, you're going to get there faster. You want to become an amazing pickleball player, you'll get there faster if you have a coach who's training you.
No.
And the same thing with divorce. And it's great to get them early. I either get them early in the process if they understand the importance of that, or I get them after a loss, which is not as fun,
Not
obviously.
ideal. Yes. Yes. Since we're talking about this, that they do make mistakes, can you share with us some of the biggest mistakes that people do make in
Oh,
such
yeah.
a high conflict divorce that we're talking about?
Absolutely. Biggest mistake for sure is incorrect lawyer selection. There is nothing that will impact your case better or worse than the right lawyer. Lawyers often are determining your legal strategy, your legal positioning. Taking a bad position or what I call a losing position in court, it is so defeating. It's such a bad idea. It empowers your opponent. It makes you lose faith in the whole system. So wrong lawyer, I would say for sure, is the biggest mistake that people make. Second biggest mistake, taking stupid legal positions. Often it's due to the lawyer, but sometimes, I have a client right now who's just starting with me who is taking a legal position that she's going to get clobbered. It's just a bad legal position.
You can just see it, right?
Yeah. And what seems so, well, of course it should be this way. No, that is not the way family court sees it. We are playing in a very specific arena called family court, or like following the divorce acts of whatever province or state that you're in. My goal is not to change the arena, although I'd love to see a change, and I believe in court advocacy, and I validate all of it, and I'm all for it. My little corner of the world involves training people to perform brilliantly in this arena, that with all of its flaws. That's what I do. So bad legal position, wrong counsel, and not having a strategy to get you from where you are now to where you want to be, your goals, those must-haves. You need a strategy to get there. And we just, and then that becomes our summit. That's our Everest. And we keep everything we do from that point on is either in the direction of the summit or it's off on a different path. And like I always tell my clients, be careful, you're going to fall into a crevasse. Like don't stray off path here. Every communication with our ex, every communication with the school teacher, every communication with your kid's therapist, even how you deal with your lawyers, either you are heading towards the summit, towards your goals, or you're not.
I'm feeling this, Stacey. I'm honestly, I'm feeling it because I'm putting myself in the shoes of this woman right now who's going through this battle and has a million things going on at the same time, but yet she's expected to be strong when she hasn't even healed yet.
It's true. It's true. Sometimes people have to, despite how they're feeling inside, take action. And I always, one thing that separates a very empowered person from a less empowered person is their ability to put their feelings aside. Think about a marathon runner. A marathon runner, when they're in, let's say they're doing a 26-mile marathon, when they're in mile 15, they ain't feeling great, okay? They're feeling like crap. Keep running. They're able to, they realize fixing their feelings is not the priority right now. Their feelings will get better when they get to their win. That's what I try to, while I validate my clients' feelings, I validate it 100%. This feels terrible. And we're going to do this.
Well, I'm glad that we are talking about this openly right now, because I know that's what she is thinking, that woman right now listening to us, right? She's thinking, well, easy for you ladies to sit there and talk about it. You're not going through it right now. I am. I'm in pain. I'm this, I'm that. And that's the victimization mindset that she's in. And we're not blaming you. We're not blaming her for being there. But what we're telling you and we're telling her, be strong and know that eventually you will get to that side. You will be healed at some point when you get through it. But first, get through this. Go through the battle just now. Put it on the side just for now. And remember your motivation. A lot of times it's the children.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, if your child had lymphoma and you had to walk 100 miles to get your child the treatment that he or she needed, I don't care if you had blisters on your feet. I don't care if you had no shoes. Every mother I know would take that walk.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Well, this is the current cancer. Okay. If there's a safety issue, it's just like that.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, Stacey, I would like to ask you if you can share with us a story, obviously while keeping the details confidential for your clients, but if you can shed some light on how difficult it is when exiting a long-term relationship or a marriage, and you find yourself dealing with we'll say a monster, okay, all alone, no support from the closest people whom you even thought that you'd be able to count on, but they're not there. You're going through a high conflict divorce, right? And now you, the coach, come in, you show up in this person's life, and you're holding their hands through all the ugliness. And of course, the outcome is much better than when they first started.
This is one of my favorite stories. I had a woman who reached out to me. She had been married for about 25 years. She had an 18 and a 20-year-old. She had started her own business 3 years prior. Up until then, both her and her husband made about the same amount of money, very middle income family, very modest living, smart girl. And the first phone call was, it's 10 years ago, I saw a divorce lawyer and I was really, it's been terrible for the whole marriage pretty much, but I just stayed in because my ex used to tell me and he had cheated on her and all sorts of things. And he was quite abusive to her. He would shove her sometimes, just little things just under the radar. She's hearing impaired. He'd make fun of her deafness. He was just an asshole. And now her kids were 18 and 20, and they were kind of like, you should leave dad. He is not nice to you. But she calls me and she says, like many women, I don't know if I still love him. I don't know if I want to stay or go. And I also am scared because I've just started this business and I've now made about $300,000 in my business. And I understand I'm going to have to share that with him. And so I don't know. And I said to her, well, let's say in a year you may have now $3 million in your business, no longer 300,000. I said, you're right. You are going to have to share it. If you end your marriage, you can end it now and you can share your $300,000 now, or we can wait a year. I'll still be here. You can call me back and you can split your $3 million. I'm good either way.
That's a very good way of putting it.
Suddenly she realized, I want out and the sooner is better. Okay, well then let's get our ducks in a row. And that's what we did. We spent the first 3 weeks, I'd say, getting our ducks in a row. She got herself legal counsel. We created a legal strategy. It became quite apparent she was afraid to tell him she wanted a divorce. Why? When somebody is afraid to speak, there's usually a reason they're afraid. Safety issues. He's been hostile. He's broken things. She was afraid he was going to crash her car, or he would do things like that. We created a safety plan. And basically within about 6 weeks of starting with me, she had secured a residence elsewhere. She didn't tell her kids until about 3 days prior. And she packed up when he went to work one day and left, and a lawyer's letter came right to him. And even before the lawyer's letter came right to him, we had filed in court. Did she want to go to court? No. Did she want to spend money on a lawyer? No. She was very fiscally responsible. But she saw that doing these things would expedite, would put him under enough pressure that this could go into mediation easily. And that's exactly what happened. She's the shortest divorce I've ever done. She just got all of her ducks in a row, had all of her financials done, had filed in court, everything done. And she left. There were safety issues. He didn't need to know where she was. The kids went with her, and she agreed. They ended up meeting in mediation about 3 months later. Well, not meeting physically. They were in separate rooms.
Right.
And she carved out a deal, and that was the end of that. She didn't have to deal with any kind of harassment from him. There was nothing like that. And even the lawyer on the other side said to our lawyer, has there been some sort of domestic violence in here? Like, is there a reason? They knew that, of course, there was a reason for this. So one can't overestimate the importance of getting one's ducks in a row ahead of time. It's a very unique time if you're in a very unhappy marriage and your marriage feels terrible, but leaving feels scarier. That is a great time to get your ducks in a row because your marriage is on shaky ground. And if you don't leave, that's okay. There's still going to be an implosion of this marriage. It may not be now. It may be in a year or 2 or 3 from now, but this is a marriage that's likely going to implode. So getting your ducks in a row while you're in the unique position of living in the same house as your spouse, getting all the information, having snapshots of what are all of our assets, what are all of our debts, this is a great time to start recording what kind of parenting is going on in this house. Is he out every night? You can start spreadsheets on that. Things like that. How much alcohol is being consumed? All of those things.
A brief stop at a station.
Those of you who ended a toxic relationship, share with someone who will benefit from your experience. We are here to support each other. What happened after you stood up to yourself, called them out, or maybe broke up and left them? Did they act surprised like they never abused you? Hoovered, tried to get you back? Fake apologies? Fake promises to change and be better if you just give them one more chance? Or did they cut you out like you never existed? Try to ruin your image and reputation? Made up lies to anyone who would listen in your circle? Or maybe found the next victim to replace you in a jiffy? Share your story. What did you do? How did you feel? How did you get yourself out? What gave you the courage to stand up to yourself and take action to save yourself? What were your main struggles? What was the most difficult thing you had to overcome after you left them? Send a voice note recording up to 5 minutes answering these questions, which will be in the description in the notes. Telling your story with the intention to help others in their journey of reclaiming back their power and healing. Send to guest@healingtrain.ca. Stay tuned for this special episode. Be ready to listen to inspiring and life-altering stories, real, raw, and remarkable. You don't want to miss this journey on the Healing Train.
This show is proudly sponsored by Say It Out Loud GG, led by the inspiring Judith Diaz, an avid change maker and passionate advocate for speaking up and raising awareness. The Healing Train podcast is honored to have her support. Now let's get back to the show.
It was not easy. I sound like it just happened. She struggled. She had tremendous anxiety. She had tremendous fear, but she showed up every day for coaching and she transformed into a very powerful person, which is actually exactly what her kids needed. They saw the path forward with their father, that they actually control things so that they're able to have a relationship that doesn't go beyond their boundaries.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story with us. I didn't go through this, but I can just sympathize, I can feel it. just I'm visualizing everything you're saying. I'm like, whoa, 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 right? But yeah, that brings me to talking about the children, right? And thank you for mentioning that also. Generally speaking, kids get affected by a divorce, by any two parents separating. It's very difficult. And that's why a lot of times couples try to make the marriage work for the sake of the children, right? And an abusive relationship is no different, especially when the mother is being abused. She still tries to make the relationship work for the sake of the children. But then there comes a point when you realize it's actually not good for the children and you're better off separating. It's not what society tells you that, like, make it work, make it work. No, you're not supposed to take the abuse. Because what kind of example are you showing your kids that it's okay for the father to treat the mother like this? If there is a son, that's exactly what he's going to grow up to do the same, right? And the
Yeah.
daughter will end up being also submissive and fearful and go on through life with trauma, and the cycle continues and it doesn't end, right? You're not really helping, right? You're not helping the next generation, right? So it's our responsibility as mothers to protect our children from having to go through this and not say, hey, let me stick it out and try and make the marriage work because I want them to have a father in their life and I want them to have a normal family because that's the dream or that's the ideal, right? For everybody to grow up under the same household. Back to my question, what I was asking earlier before I went on a rant there. How, in your experience, you've seen that this approach of handling things in a divorce, right? The effect it has on the children when it's done that way, strategically, versus when they don't do it the way that it would help them win. Can you share with us?
Absolutely. I think that all of my clients and me too stayed in a very abusive marriage uh, with altruistic reasons
Mm.
because we thought it was the best thing for our children. I mean, the truth is, as moms, we'll take a bullet for our child, right? We always have to see how our actions are in service or not in service to our child. And for sure, if you have a very young child with safety issues and you have a dangerous person, you may want to stay in that marriage. I get it. Like, I really do understand it. I will say, in being a divorce coach and going through this with my own special needs child, it really only takes one skilled parent for a child to get through a high conflict divorce. And a child can actually build tremendous resilience and tremendous life skills by watching, by emulating a powerful person through a high conflict divorce. It actually can, they can have post-traumatic growth from that. But the problem with put up and shut up mode, which most of my clients are in, is it keeps a very toxic dynamic going for a longer period of time. These are the people that come to me that are still living, they're separated but living under the same roof as their ex because they're afraid to move their case forward. If I do that, he's going to retaliate, sort of thoughts.
Mhm.
So they're stuck because they have no support. They've got no parenting schedule set up. So they actually can't physically separate. And this is just like it's like a volcano waiting to erupt that this poor child lives in. And I can tell you these kids don't like it. I grew up in a household where I would have been happier if my parents had separated because there was just such an unpleasant dynamic within it. Kids don't like it. It's not fair. They start to have a lot of anxiety and a lot of mental health problems when they're stuck in that.
Mhm.
They do better. What kids don't like is uncertainty. If they really don't like uncertainty. And so the key is to get certain as to where you're going and what you're going to do. And that's when you can share it and they'll feel that safety in your confidence, in your calm confidence.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you find it better for the woman, the mom, to communicate with their children about the steps that are taking place and the explanation of whys? And there's actually a two-part to this question that just came to my head. First, do you find it okay, better to communicate, number one? And At what age you say what?
These
Does
are really good questions.
mm,
I'm not a child psychologist, but I deal with a lot of parenting issues in high conflict divorce for
yes,
sure.
yes.
And I'm not a believer in lying to your kids, but I'm also not a believer in disparaging their other parent ever.
Mhm.
So what ends up happening with a lot of these people is moms sometimes inadvertently gaslight their kids because they're so nervous about being accused of alienating the other parent. So I always like to say, answer your kids' questions and validate their feelings, but save your own commentary. Your commentary is your own. So you can factually answer questions like a kid comes to you and says, Dad says you made him leave. You can say, yes, I did. We needed to be in two separate households because I really value our peace and safety.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not saying anything bad
Not
about
accusing, yeah, you're not bad mouthing, you're stating facts.
exactly. Stay very, very factual with things. Or the child comes and says, I don't want to go to the other parent's house. If there's a court order, they're going. So you don't want to tell them something that's not true, but you can validate their feelings. I understand it's hard for you to live in two houses. That is challenging. And I'm sorry about that. That's hard for you. And you're going to daddy's.
Mhm, mhm,
When you're older, you'll have more latitude for your own decisions.
mhm. So it's harder, obviously, when the kids are much younger and still cannot comprehend. But I guess when, let's say, you're separating at a later stage in life and the kids are no longer kids, let's just say they're in teenage years, they can understand and comprehend. Still not as an adult because who's experienced things in life, right? But if they're the teenage years, I think it's a bit easier. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
It is. I mean, the truth is, kids have tremendous amount of self-advocacy that they just don't realize that they have, especially when they're siblings.
Mm,
Like if they are being mistreated, and I don't mean physically abused, but if they're being treated differently in a household in a way that they don't like, they have a lot of agency, especially if they stick together.
mhm,
Dad, I don't like it when you do this, and it's going to make me not want to come here. The
mm.
truth is that other parent really wants the kids to like him or her.
Right.
That's really what they want. You have to give the kids the tools, show them just how much power they have.
Yeah.
Now, older kids for sure have a voice, not always a choice, but their voice matters. Their views and preferences increase with age, at least in Ontario, where I'm located, and throughout, I mean, family law is very much the same in most provinces and states. I work all throughout North America.
Mhm.
And the problem that I hear from mothers if they have a child who's 12, 13, 14 is they're afraid to speak their preference. They're afraid to speak their voice. Well, I have a solution to that problem.
Mm.
I I don't deny they're afraid. I get that they're afraid.
Mhm.
But if they want something badly enough, they're going to be brave for it. If they're not going to be brave for it, they don't want it that badly. It's not that bad then. So the way I get people to do things they don't want to do is what I call up the stink. So if your 14-year-old is coming home bitching about dad, and you say, well, okay, like I'm going to get a therapist for you to talk to, and you can say your views and preferences, or, oh, I can't, dad'll be so upset, and I can't. Okay, well, then it must not bother you that much. And if you just keep listening to them bitch every time, you're not helping them. You got to let them, let their diaper get dirty enough for them to take action. Okay. It, it must not be so bad for you. So let's not even talk about it then. If it's really bad for you, you're going to go speak to this professional who can make a change.
That's a great tip, Stacey. Wow. And that comes from the experience and the clients that you've had. And
I deal with this problem
yeah.
often, and I always find, stories are so helpful. I had one client who had 3 kids, a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and an 8-year-old. So cute. and they were having a custody assessment. And part of the custody assessment means the custody assessor speaks to the kids. The 12-year-old did not want to have more time than he already had with the father. He had kind of 3 overnights in a 2-week period, did not want more. They had had like physical altercations. They had had like lots of unpleasant things.
Mm-hmm.
The custody assessor asks all of her questions. You know, what would you like to see in a parenting schedule? What do you want? What do you want? He answers all the questions. He is forthright. He tells her exactly what he wants, knowing Dad might be pissed, but he wants it that badly. The middle guy, who's 10, the custody assessor says, you know, you don't have to answer every question. If you want, you could just pass. And he stood there, he sat there with tears down his face. She's asking him questions about Dad's house and Mom's house. And he's like, pass, pass. And the little one, the 8-year-old little girl, she loved everybody. She was happy going. And that's what she said. So what happened here? Well, the assessment comes out and with the recommendations, and those recommendations are what a court's looking for. They're gonna follow the recommendations of a custody assessor. And the 12-year-old got to keep his parenting schedule, and the other 2 kids went on a 50-50 parenting schedule. And I love this story because it's a cautionary tale. It's the tale you tell your kids who are afraid to speak. If I'm not going to tell you to speak or not speak, this is your opportunity to speak to the assessor or to the therapist or the person doing a voice of the child. You don't want to take the opportunity? It's up to you. I'm good either way. Just understand, if you don't take the opportunity to tell your authentic views and preferences, this is likely what's going to happen. I'm good either way. I'm good with shared parenting.
It's a teaching point. It's a teaching point. Sometimes, unfortunately, we make choices that aren't the best for us because of fear or whatnot, right? And we have to live with the consequences of the decision we made when we chose not to speak, even though in a way we are, I want to say victim, because there's a reason why they're not speaking. There's the fear, and the fear came from somewhere. So it's not totally the child's fault. However, there was an opportunity to grow here, and they weren't ready to grow yet. So now they have to live through a bit of suffering as a consequence to that.
That's right.
In the next time, now they will speak. Because they learned what it meant not to speak.
Right. I mean, not speaking satisfied, quenching their fear in the moment. They didn't have to deal with their fear in the moment, but they didn't actually get to their goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that marathon runner who at mile 15 says, my feet hurt. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done.
Exactly. There are different dynamics all the time, Stacey, and I'm sure we cannot talk about every single scenario, but there's a scenario that really, really, really upsets me. It's when during a high conflict divorce, the children are being used as pawns. Okay. And a lot of times, unfortunately, I wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately, the abusive, toxic parent gets to poison the children's mind against the abused person, who's in this case the woman, the mom, and they take sides with the dad, and the mom could lose access to the children or have to have visitations, like supervised visitations, where it's like, what, like how, like I'm the victim here, but you're taking my children away from me because the toxic abusive person found a way to play the dirty games and the snake.
Yeah, I call it mind fuckery.
I love your terms. How do you I just love your terms.
Listen, this is what I do all day, every day. So that it's really bad. Like it's a really bad thing. So how do you, I think what needs to be said is we can't change what's happening in that house.
Yes.
Right? The mind fuckery is happening.
Yeah.
In any high conflict divorce. That is happening. And if we have to change that, or if we're expecting the court to be able to police that, we might as well light $1,000 bills on fire. Okay. So there needs to be a different way to counteract or combat this mind fury. This is worth a podcast also all on its own.
Well, I'm gonna guess that you're gonna say something that has to do with the word S, strategy.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Of course, there are strategies. Okay, the proper term for this is probably counter-parenting. Like, for example, I had a client who's Asian, and she was married to a white guy. They had a very acrimonious divorce, and their child would come back to her, and they always spoke Mandarin at her house, but she would refuse to speak Mandarin. Like, that's an example of counter-parenting. Or she would make faces like stereotypical, like, and squint her eyes and like really derogatory. Well, where's she getting that from? Obviously from the father, okay? And so we need to have an approach of dealing with our kids that will counteract and overcome that kind of behavior. In fact, we should expect that kind of behavior and not be mortified and horrified when it happens, and be able to deal with it with total calm conviction. This isn't a problem for me. I've got my cape on. I know how to deal with this kind of a mom. Now, where this becomes particularly effective, this counter parenting, is when mom is in victim mode. And oh my God, I have to change him, and they don't understand, and the world needs to change him. No, it doesn't, actually. The way you show up in your household is going to have like the biggest influence on your child in counteracting that behavior. And I have lots of techniques for dealing with it. But I will say this: people are repelled by victims, including children. Think about it. When you see like a street person, we feel for them, right? Like, we're compassionate. We might even give them money. We might buy them a coffee. But do we sit down beside them and talk to them? No. We just like, it's a bit of a repellent thing. Kids are repelled by parents who are in victim mode, and they are attracted to powerful heroes. Okay. That, by the way, is the attraction they have to the toxic parent. They feel safer there. It feels more powerful.
Because they're looking for safety, and they think that person will give me the safety. This one is just, Even
this one is screaming about poverty. They're worried about, like, I can't afford groceries, and they're saying it to their kid.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
There. Like, the kid might sort of feel sorry for you, but they're not going to feel, they're going to feel on shaky ground in your house. So it is the time to put on your cape and be the mom you need to be. I remember exactly the turning point in my own case when my ex did some crazy things, including hitting a car purposely outside of my house, where I'm like, you know what? I'm not living it. We can't, my son was hysterical, came in screaming hysterical. We went on lockdown for the weekend. And that's when I said, enough of this. I can't live like this anymore. Like, this is no longer his world. This is now Stacey's world. And I had to make that shift. We're not living in fear. And that's when I unleashed my lawyer. Until then, I held him on a leash and held him back. No, it's fine. Don't do that. Don't go to court. I don't want to go to court. I just want peace. Actually, there's things you want more than peace. That's what people need to learn. You want a fair settlement. You want unscathed kids. You want that more than peace.
That's great tips. There are a lot of people out there who are in the exact same position, feeling the exact same way, and listening to this or watching this and saying, oh my God, how did you know? That's exactly what I'm going through. Because it almost feels like every situation, as different as it may be in its own circumstances, there are a lot of similarities.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like, I really know my population. I know I was that person. I know it doesn't seem like it now, but I was very much that person too.
Yeah.
I had lots of, like, there were death threats and there were criminal charges, all the domestic abuse, all of the things.
Yeah. Now, from your line of work, do you find it common for a woman to be hesitant in following your proven strategies that you're talking about and the framework to win this battle? Or like, how does it work there?
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes, like, I've been coached on many things, and I think if you're hesitant, that's not the time to take action. You need to marinate in what's being said to you for a little bit until you can really wrap your head around it. Because coaching kind of takes whatever you think to be true and turns it upside down. Okay. Like we think that having two parents is ideal for a child. Maybe it's not ideal for a child. Like all of these norms that are ingrained in us through internalized patriarchy and different things like that, we turn upside down. So it does take some time to marinate in it. I think when you take action when you're still not sure and hesitant, it won't be as effective.
Yes, you have to be ready. You have to be ready that you're doing this. It's a decision that you made. You're not wishy-washy.
That's right. That's right. And I do believe in the power principle, which is there are a lot of things you don't have to make a decision on until you collect. Like if you're not sure what to do, I always say collect more information. You don't know which lawyer to hire, you're not sure. Maybe we should interview two more. That's the power principle.
What are some of the reasons you think that would make women second guess their decision in leaving and proceeding with a divorce? Obviously, there's a reason they're unhappy. Okay, so they're unhappy, they're abused, whatever the case may be for them, and they approach you as a divorce coach, and they start doing the work, and they start getting the lawyer, and then like kind of start to hesitate, and then second guess what they're doing. What do you think some of those causes can be? You know, I'm sure there's many reasons, but just a few common ones that maybe that person out there listening and watching us today know that, hey,
I think second guessing out of fear is really common and probably not a good reason to reconcile. But often when you start to show up in a different way and out of doormat format, like it will change the dynamic and there could be hope for that marriage. Like women don't get cheated on if their husband knows like one misstep and I'm going to get kicked to the curb. Women who get cheated on are women who are so devoted to their marriage. Generally, they prioritize family above all else. I was one of them. I mean, and I got cheated on. The woman who sort of thinks I could be married to this guy or any guy. Doesn't matter. But one thing's for sure, any guy I'm married to is not cheating on me, or else we're not married. And so I'm fine. Like divorce is not a big deal. Yeah. That person doesn't get cheated on. Okay. It comes off of them. So as you're starting to make this kind of transformation into this is the way it's going to go. I'm going to get a safe exit. I'm going to have unscathed kids and I'm going to have a fair financial settlement. And that's the way I'm living now. There could be a reconnection in the partnership. You're now showing up as a different person in this relationship. I've had two clients reconcile, and I think great, but there's a caveat, of course. Here's the rule. The rule is there's no reconciliation without an agreement, without a marriage agreement, a marriage contract. That's my rule, because you may come down this road again.
And as a coach in toxic relationships, I can tell you that this, I hate to say this, but a lot of times it's a manipulation tactic from the person because they're trying to either buy time or they're trying to get their power back because they see her getting her power. So they're trying to one up her, right? And they are going to tell her everything she wants to hear. They're going to even switch their behavior 180 degrees to that person who respects her. And I'm sorry, I can't believe I was doing those things to you. Oh my God, I'm going to change and let's go to therapy and all those things. And then she falls for it and then she believes it. And again, yes.
I actually had a client who was murdered.
Oh.
And that's what happened. She didn't follow the rule, like she should have kept a lawyer, had an agreement, all the things, but she was so desperate to stay married. And that's exactly what happened. It's really sad. You know, she got rid of me, got rid of the lawyers, you know, and was back under the spell of her ex.
And Stacey, this is why we are doing the work that we are doing.
You bet it is. That's right.
We are raising that awareness. We are telling you the woman out there who's listening to this, watching this, and we know what's going on in your mind.
Oh,
We
yeah.
know exactly what's happening in here, the doubts and the second guessing and the hopes and the dreams and the not wanting to believe that the person you vowed to love for the rest of your life, the person that showed a certain persona to you at the very beginning, where they showed you all the love and all the fantasy and all of the dreams that are going to come true, that you've probably even lived at some point,
Yeah.
that it's time for it to end right here, regardless whether it was real, not real. We're not going to here to even discuss how real it was and how authentic they are. We're not here to discuss that. The point is, it's not true today. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? Do you want to
Exactly.
continue in this? Or do you do you feel you deserve better? Or you don't feel you deserve better? That's the question here. What do you really feel you deserve? Right?
Yeah.
What do your kids deserve?
Exactly. Exactly. That's right. What would you want? What would you say to your best friend in this situation? What would you say to your daughter in this exact situation? What would you tell her to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love conversation with you here, Stacey. It's awesome. I just want to wrap this up by asking you to share with us, how does working with you kind of look like? I know you can't, we talked about it here and there throughout our conversation, but please share with us how to
Sure.
reach you, how to work with you. What does it look like?
There are two ways you can work with me. One of them is very high touch. You join what I call my lifeline sorority. It's a small group. It's a highly confidential group. Most of my clients are in litigation. And we meet 3 times a week. Plus, you see me as much as you want to. I'm there for every legal meeting with you. We do private coaching, all the things. And there's a monthly fee at the Lifeline sorority. Other option is all of my training materials, the exact skills you need to know to ace your custody assessment, exactly what you need to know to develop lawyer mastery so you get the most performance from your lawyer with the least amount of money. There are skills here. All of my materials you can buy in a course as well. So there's a high conflict divorce toolkit that's available. It's a purchase, or you can work one-on-one with me on a monthly basis for as long as you need to work. I have a lot of my clientele comes from lawyers. Lawyers refer clients to me. If you're in a custody assessment, don't do it without being coached. You will make mistakes. Yeah, does that give you what you're looking for?
Definitely, definitely. And of course, all of your information are gonna be in the description, so not to worry, they'll know how to reach you. You don't have to say it out loud here. They're gonna miss it anyways, because possibly they're listening to this while they're driving and they need to make sure they
Yeah.
get to the info. So yeah. Quick question. Why did you name your business Lifeline Coaching?
Because I send people a lifeline. I am exactly what I was missing in my divorce. I was drowning. I wasted tons of money in legal fees. I just relied on my lawyer while grenades were being hurled at me every day. And frankly, these weren't legal problems.
Mm.
These were other problems. And it would have been much more cost effective to have a coach. So my clients, when they come to me, their houses are on fire. They are drowning. And my job is to hurl them a lifeline and to pull them out of the trenches.
I felt that. That hit me right here.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
that's probably because you've been there.
yeah. I've been there and I didn't have that lifeline. I was my own lifeline, Stacey. I had to dig myself out by myself. I was the one that was creating my exit plan and putting myself together. And on top of that, I had support. I'm not gonna lie. I had support. But in the midst of that support, I still had some opposing views and opinions
Oh,
as to the
sure.
approach that I was taking and second guessing me so I can second guess myself. I had some moments of second guessing myself, but not really because I was, well, as you can see, I'm a resilient woman. So you could
Yes, you
imagine,
are.
even though I was going through a toxic, ending, I look back now and I don't know where I got the power from to stand up and say, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I left. And I'm proud to say I've been no contact ever since, and it's been a few years now.
Me too.
No contact.
I'm no contact over 10 years, and it's delightful.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Stacey, I'd like you to leave us with one quick tip if you can. You've left us with so many invaluable tips today, but just one last one, okay? I want you to talk to the woman
Yeah.
who's battling through a high conflict divorce case right now, and you want to help her stay emotionally strong. I know we have to put the emotion on the side, but how do you help her stay emotionally strong and focused when the ex is constantly trying to provoke or manipulate her?
Yes. I want you to think of yourself as being coated in Teflon. Teflon, like a Teflon pan. I think that's like a non-stick pan.
Yeah.
People will say words to you. People who are under stress will say nasty words to you. All people. Your ex is a flailing man. Okay? Their world has just imploded. They will hurl all sorts of words at you, words of intimidation, but you're Teflon. Let those words fall to the ground. That's what we say in the sorority. Let the words of intimidation from your ex's lawyer, from your ex, just fall to the ground. And I'll tell you something else. People say things and do things like intimidate and threaten when they are feeling insecure. So if you're getting threatening letters from opposing counsel, I kind of love it. It just means they don't like their client and they don't like their case.
Yes, and a lot of times it's empty words.
Yeah.
And you need to see through it.
That's right. That's the beauty of having a coach, right? Like you have somebody in the trench with you who's going to go through every letter from opposing counsel. Those were always so difficult, I remember.
I think there needs to be more of you out there, Stacey. There's not enough. I don't know. Are you the only one? I'm not even sure if there's others.
Lots of divorce coaches out there. I mean, my service is a little bit different because I work also with the lawyers.
Yeah.
If they want me to be as part of the legal strategy and form, I call it amassing gray matter, like making a great team so that we get to the win quickly.
Yeah, definitely. People going through divorces is one thing, but going through a divorce in a toxic dynamic and someone who is manipulative, like we're saying, and yeah, that's a whole other ball game. The pains of any divorce and ending a relationship is one thing, and then with this one is multiplied.
Yeah, it ain't easy, but I always say to my clients, this is your curriculum. There's some way in which you've been operating in life that's ineffective, and we're going to fix it through your divorce.
And I also believe that this is the path to healing. It's an expedited path to healing because you're pushing yourself further to fight, to stand up, to set the boundaries. You're doing all the things that you would be doing later on in other types of coaching or therapy, if you choose to do that. That might take you longer if you hadn't done that work initially. That's what I feel.
I agree.
And then the rest would be more going through, well, what made you stay? And like, why did you were even attracted to that person? And that's like different kind of therapy. We're going deep now so we can heal that wound so we don't repeat the same mistake again. So we don't fall into another trap again of another toxic individual because we haven't healed ourselves.
And that happens, right? That definitely, it's such a great exercise once you sort of are starting to emerge and you've battened down the hatches, everything's sort of calmer to do that exercise. What is a nice, intelligent woman like me doing in a crappy relationship? What was I thinking? What put me there?
Dig, and you'll find it.
Yes, agree.
Oh my goodness. Stacey, thank you so much. Really. Thank you for everything that you've said. This conversation, I am so happy and pleased with it. And I hope that you continue to grow and we see you shine and help more women out there. And please, everyone who is listening, everyone who is watching, connect with Stacey. All the information are going to be in the description. Reach out to her, have a consultation, see how she can help you in whichever way. All the best to each one of you out there who are about to go into a divorce battle. And until next episode, see you later.
Before you hop off the train, if something in today's ride stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Hit follow and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Want to dive deeper or have a topic you'd love us to explore? I'm all ears. Drop your questions, thoughts, or suggestions. We're in this healing journey together, and your voice matters here. Just drop a message to guest@healingtrain.ca. I am listening. And until next time, keep on healing you and keep riding with me on the healing train.